Hey, so this is now the next day, and good news, parts arrived. I really wasn't expecting a Saturday delivery off either Tanya batteries or Wiimoto, so you know, great, really pleased, because usually I have to pay extra for that. So other bit of good news was, after me moaning about poor delivery yesterday, the metal bar that I was waiting for the trailer, so I could put that strengthened piece in, arrived late yesterday afternoon as well. So I've done that this morning and got the trailer gone. That's now up at the lockup, so I've got a lot more room in the garage to fanny around with stuff. So I'm going to get the front brake pads on the RD change, put the new battery on, and probably take it for a tinker. Certainly just a little run around the block to see how she goes. Great, so let's crack on. Right, so what's that old adage? There's no such thing as a 5-minute job, and that's going to be the case here today too. Brake pads, piece of piss. However, as is often the case, the two screws holding the brake fluid reservoir down one's come out and the other one hasn't, and it's now rounded off. It's a tiny little Allen key fitting. So we're going to have to try and drill that out, because of course I can't push the caliper back, I can't get to change the brake fluid. So yeah, okay, let's crack on with that. Right, I've just had a thought. I've never really had a lot of success with them, but easy outs, you know, the drill set. I bought some. I've got 2 sets of them actually, and I did have success with getting a broken exhaust manifold bolt out of a head using this very kit, and it's the first time I'd really used them where I was desperate to get them out. So anyway, so I thought I'd have a go with them on this one. So this is the smallest bit they've got, and it's comes with the drill end is one end, and then the easy out is the other end. So we'll give them a go and see if that helps. I mean, I know I'm gonna have to replace the screws anyway, but you know, I just want to be able to get them out so I can do the job today, really. Okay. So we got the lid off, and I'm obviously going to have to get some new screws for that. That's no problem. Won't be on the road this weekend though. And the other problem is the piston is seized in the caliper, so I can't get it out. So I'm going to use the hydraulic force to get it out. I've put some more brake fluid in, and I'm bleeding it through now, and then we'll just use the brake to push it out of the caliper itself, and we'll see what sort of state it's in then. Okay. So after yesterday's fettling, it's uncovered a few little issues that I'm going to have to address. Really, the brake calipers have got seized pistons, so that's developed, and they're going to come off, and we're going to have to refurbish the calipers completely, really. In addition to that, I came into the garage this morning and there's a load of oil under the bike again, and whilst the oil leak from the seal around the gear selector lever has gone, you know, that modification has definitely worked. Oil now appears to be dripping out of the crankcase bolts in the bottom of the crankcase. So what I'm going to do is I've ordered, because I topped the oil up yesterday as well because it wasn't registering on the dipstick after I finished, and I just put that down to the fact it's been leaking oil for months. Anyway, so the downpipes need painting, so I'm going to whip the exhausts off. That will give me better access to the crankcase bolts at the bottom, and I'm going to try torquing them up to see if that helps. If it doesn't, I don't know what's going on there. I've got I was struggling yesterday to get the brakes to bleed at all because I was going to use the hydraulic pressure to push the pistons out so I could see the state of them. But I couldn't get them to bleed through, and checking up on some online forums, they were saying, oh, you know, reverse bleed them, or, you know, pump it up in from the bleed nipple. I haven't got one of those pumps. I've got a syringe, but it wasn't good enough, so I've got a pump kit coming today. I've got the bolts for the brake master cylinder on order, so they'll probably be a Tuesday, Wednesday. As I say, I've ordered some more gear oil. I think I've got some paint that I can get the downpipes done, but it's really the oil leak that I want to get on top of. As desperate as I am to get out on the bike, I think I'm just going to have to resign myself to the fact that it's unseasonably warm at the moment, and the bike needs some attention, so these things need to be done. Hey internet, so right, the little vacuum hand pump for bleeding the brakes, absolutely perfect. I'll show you that in a bit, but it certainly allowed me to bleed the brakes at the front, so then I could use the hydraulic pressure to push the piston out. And I would say, looking at the piston, I would say that has been replaced. Well, you know, before I bought the bike, but you know, it doesn't look in a bad nick. The seals, however, in the caliper do look a bit manky, so I'm just going to go and order some now from my new favourite place, Yam Bits. I'm probably very late coming to the party as usual, but having looked online, they seem to sell absolutely everything for RDs, so I've got a bit of a basket on the go now with loads of little bits and pieces that I want for it, and I'll just go and put 2 seal kits in there and get that ordered, and they should be here for later in the week so I can get it done on Friday maybe. But yeah, so that's good news so far. Great. Well, some of you might be wondering how I'm going to get the piston out the other caliper on the other side now. Obviously you'd think I haven't got any hydraulic pressure left, of course, because it's only got one caliper attached. So what I've done is where you've got a single brake fluid line running from the master cylinder to a junction in the centre section here. Let me just show you, just here, and then there's 2 pipes that come off feeding either caliper. So what I've done is I've taken the double height screw out and just replaced it with a single one, allowing me just to attach one of the brake lines to the secondary, or to the right hand side. So now with the right hand caliper attached, I'll do the same thing again using my new vacuum pumper to bleed it through, and then we'll use the hydraulic pressure this side to push the piston out so we can give it a good clean, because I think I'm going to be painting the calipers as well while they're off. I've got some caliper paint, so you know, we may as well do the whole job properly whilst we've got the opportunity to. And also, whilst I'm waiting for parts, my Yam Bits order won't be here until probably Wednesday or Thursday, and I'll be away working then. Well, that's about all I can do for today. pending arrival of parts really. As you saw, my last little job, I didn't bother showing you the process, but it was just to paint the exhausts. Just flatted them off with 240 first, and I've used a Rust-Oleum very high temperature barbecue paint of all things. But you know, I think the last time I was in an RD forum, they were all talking about what's the best paint to use on the exhausts, and somebody said B&Q barbecue paint gave about the best finish. So it's a silk, almost matte finish, so they should look alright. But yeah, so we've got gaskets coming for the exhausts, we've got parts coming for the brake calipers, we've got the sealant so I can put the bolts in the bottom, the nuts on the bottom of the crankcase again. I've ordered a couple of new plugs as well for it whilst I was ordering, and a few other bits and pieces, just washers for the brake banjos and stuff like that. So yeah, so it'll be a little while before we get it finished, but yeah, it'll be fun, and I know it will be right. So that's what matters really, isn't it? So yeah, okay, I'll catch up with you when the parts have arrived and we're putting it back together. Okay. Well, no luck with the oil leak. It's still coming out of those two bolts, and I haven't even put any fresh oil in it yet. It's been draining for a week. There must be a little bit of residual left in there, but as soon as I put I cleaned up the washers, cleaned up the nuts, I thought I'd cleaned up enough the part of the crankcase where the washer seats. Tried the new liquid sealant, and it's still coming out. It's still weeping past, and it's not coming down the threads. It's coming out between what looks like the washer and the crankcase itself. I've even tried just to rule it out, I tried putting a copper washer in there as well, and it's still weeping out. So anyway, I've taken him off, cleaned it all up again. So I've had a wire brush on the crankcase as well, just around that area where the washer seats, just to make sure there isn't any foreign object, any debris at all there. And I've also gone back to my favourite new shop, Yambits, and ordered new crankcase nuts and washers as well. I don't know what else it can be. I don't want to put loads and loads of sealant in there, just to bodge it up. So there's no hurry. We'll wait for those to come. I've ordered them on an overnight. It is Friday again. I might get them tomorrow, I might not. So I'll park that up for a bit and put some attention on the brake calipers. So let's see how we can get on with that. It's another day and we've got some more parts arrived. The correct brake pads this time. So yeah. But the big news is about the oil leak. So posted a question into an RD owners forum on Facebook, and tons of useful information. Really, really good. Those guys, some of those guys in there really know what they're on about. And the general consensus was it was either going to be a dry joint, and by that where the case is when you reassemble the engine, it doesn't have a gasket. It has Yamaha Bond, which is a special sealant which sits between the two cases, and if that hasn't been used, so it's either a dry case or the wrong sealant's been used, that's what can cause oil coming out through those bolts, the crankcase bolts at the bottom. Somebody said that if the wrong sealant's used, it sort of dries up over time, and then that's when you get the gear oil leaking through and coming down down those long studs. Resolution, it was suggested that the only thing you can do really is a complete engine strip down and reseal the cases and then put them back together, reassemble the whole engine. Massive job, and what a pain in the arse. But then the other suggestions were coming in that it could be that the oil looked really thin, and there was a number of folks saying, that looks like two-stroke oil, that does. I don't think it's gear oil, I think it's two-stroke oil. And what could be happening is if the pipe from the oil tank to the carbs is damaged or cracked, oil could be leaking, and then there's a drain towards the back of the carbs down through the crankcase, and that will make the oil appear to be coming from that nut, or from that off the end of that stud. So I was sort of weighing it all up. It's Sunday now. Didn't do anything on the bike yesterday, but I left and there's no gear oil in there at all. It's drained completely. I haven't put anything back in there, and but I've left the container underneath the bike just to catch any residual oil that might drip out. Anyway, so I came into the garage last night just to get something out of the freezer, and blow me, there's quite a bit of oil in the bowl under the bike, and it's still dripping now. So I'm sort of looking at it, and it's still dripping out now. So it's got to be two-stroke oil. So that's brilliant news as regards not having to strip the engine down. But we're going to obviously have to find that leak. So what I'll do is, because I've got a few different jobs on the go at the moment, I'm going to just... the other thing is, there's an awful smell in the garage. Smells of petrol-y oil, I suppose is the best way of describing it. Now, Kate said to me, I can always tell when you've had the RD running because you can smell it in the house, and you can smell it on the understairs cupboard. If you open that, you can smell what seems to be fumes. Not much, but you can smell it a bit, and I reckon it's the petrol fumes, because it's like I say, it can only be now coming out the back of the carbs, I guess, or from the oil tank. One suggestion was about there's some check valves in the oil pump that will stop the flow of oil, obviously, when the throttle's shut off. But if they're not working properly, there still could be a bit of a feed going through to the carbs, and that's what the problem is. Now, I didn't turn the fuel off when I had it running the other day, and I reckon that's why it's still dripping out the bottom now. But anyway, so plan for today is the brake calipers, I've refurbished them nicely. So obviously I had the pistons out and everything, replaced both seals in there, cleaned the pistons up, popped them back in, painted them up nice. They've been drying on the radiator for a couple of days. They should be baked good and hard. The new brake pads, as I say, are now here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the brakes built up, and then we'll get these refitted, get the new screw in the master cylinder cover, and tick that off as a done job, and then we're going to focus some time on having a look for the oil leak. So let's crack on and get that done. Okay. then, so that's the brakes done. That's all good. That vacuum pump for bleeding the brakes, absolutely brilliant. I don't know how I've managed without one all this time. Anyway, so onto the leak. So as I said, last night came into the garage, and I hadn't really been in the garage all day, and the container under the bike had collected some more fluid, despite the fact there's no oil at all in the crankcases there. I haven't put anything back in, you know, because of addressing it, and it quite clearly is two-stroke oil and petrol, and I think at the moment it's more petrol than oil. So just give you a quick look. Smells like petrol, feels like petrol, a little bit oily, but not very much. And since I turned the petrol tap off, there's no drip. So what we're going to do now is, like I say, I ordered new nuts and washers from Yambits, and I also ordered some of this stud lock as well from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a load of the old stud lock and put these new nuts and washers in and torque it up and get some oil in the crankcase and see if we get any drips. And I don't think we're going to have any drips, to be honest with you. I think this is two-stroke oil and petrol, like everybody said on the forum yesterday. So let's just whip that up. Okay then, that's the nuts fitted, and we've used that stud lock, as you could see. Don't know how much of a you could see there because the camera sort of fell over a bit, but anyway, so we've got oil in the transmission again, and nothing's dripping out at the moment, which is all good. So let's get the newly painted exhaust back on. Bought new gaskets and seals for them as well, so they should be good as well. Okay, let's do that. Right then, it's the next day since we did the sealing of the nuts and what have you. It wasn't dripping last night. Let's see if it's anything in the little bowl this morning. The big reveal. So it looks like we've cured that. That's really good news, and it was definitely two-stroke oil and petrol. Garage smells better, lovely. So yeah, all good. So the big worry about the engine having to come out and get stripped down hasn't materialised, which is excellent news. I took it for a quick whiz round the block yesterday and it went really well. bit of cleaning, I think, and then job's and we can get on and use it a bit more. Great. All right, well, that was the first instalment of the RD this year. Yeah, no such thing as a 5-minute job, so yeah, okay, let's see you next time. All right, bye.